I'm sure I'm not the only one who takes a deep breath before opening the energy bill. The cost to cool in the summer and heat in the winter seem to keep rising. But change is underway in Iowa. Hi, I'm Lori Johns. Welcome to ChopTalk. When you think of solar energy, what image comes to mind? Counterculture, living off the grid hipsters? Well, it's not like the 70s anymore when solar was so expensive only NASA could afford to use it to power satellites. Now, some Americans are embracing solar to cut their energy costs. But before them came the real trendsetters. These out-of-the-box cool people can be found on the farm. Yep, farmers are and have been embracing the power of the sun. Let's light it up and learn more about solar energy and its place on Iowa pig farms. I'm here in beautiful Washington County with hog farmer John Gent. How long have you been raising pigs?
We started in 1983, so it's been quite a while.
I bet things have changed a lot since then.
Yes, they have. Things have gotten a little bigger and the family has grown, so it's really working out.
Now, tell me about the early days. What was it like? How many pigs were you raising? And do you come from a multi-generation family of pig farmers?
My dad and my siblings, we raised some pigs on the farm. We had 100 sows back then. And when I was in high school, I started with 100 sows on my own, and it just grew from there. And now we have maybe 5,000 sows, and as a result, keeps the family busy.
And now you've got kids, and nearly all of them are involved in it as well, right?
Yeah, 2 of our 3 sons are involved in the pork operation, and we got 7 grandkids. So as a result, it makes a nice life for everyone if we can get along, and we do.
Well, most definitely. Now, for people who haven't been out this neck of the woods, it is beautiful country, rolling hills, wide open spaces, gorgeous area. I can see why being sustainable is important to you. And so that's why you've always embraced innovation. Tell me about it.
Well, we started quite a few years ago and bought some used wind turbines, thinking that was the direction we needed to go. And when we did that, solar panels were out there also, but they just weren't efficient enough. And since then, they've gotten real efficient and more economical. And as a result, we've switched over and they're less maintenance and they do produce a nice amount of electricity for us.
You know, a lot of people wouldn't think pig farms, solar farms. They wouldn't think that the two go together. They wouldn't think solar energy and pig farms, but it actually does.
Yes, maybe it's a bad example, but hog farm and solar are just about like peanut butter and jelly. The hog farm needs constant power to run fans and heat lamps to keep pigs warm and stuff like that. And as a result, the sun is out almost every day and we get electricity from the solar and it works out.
Yeah, you don't have anything blocking the sun out here, do you?
No high rises.
Yeah, most definitely not. Well, it'll give folks an idea of, for a farm like this, what energy costs might be.
Kilowatt is around 11 to 14 cents and it's going up every year like all of our expenses. And so we want to try to keep things in check. We want to produce pigs as reasonable as possible so everything's sustainable and we can watch our expenses. And so some of our average building costs can be $500 to $800 a month. And so we want to try to keep that in check. And so by putting and investing in solar panels, we've done that.
Yeah, because you've got the $500 a month. That goes towards, heating the barns in the winter.
If you've got heat lamps for small pigs, there's constant ventilation fans. So that's part of the expenses.
Well, yeah, because you got to keep the fans going. There's a lot of animals in there and you want to keep the air good for them.
Yes, absolutely. We want a great environment for the pigs. The only way a pig will really grow nice is to keep the air quality as nice in a hog barn as it is in our house.
And are you the closest neighbors to your barns?
Absolutely, yes. If you were here right now with us, you would see that our house is right next to where we're talking. So, and all the hog sheds are right here. And so we keep a clean operation, and I wish I could share it with more people.
Oh, that's just so neat. Well, tell me, what made you think of solar?
We just wanted to be sustainable and we wanted to keep our costs in line, and we knew we were going to be doing it for the next 20 to 40 years with next generation of family. And by doing something that would keep our costs in line, and we had incentives. The state has worked with us and the federal government, and we get depreciation. So by doing that, we're trying to improve the environment, and that's what we're up to.
So when you had $500 a month, let's say, for a barn, and then you put in solar, then what's it cost?
You're going to have a maintenance cost that they will constantly charge you each month. So if the solar is really working good, you could be down to $25, $35 a month.
How big would you say is that solar panel that's behind the barn over there? That covers, is it like maybe a half a football field?
On this farm, we use quite a bit of electricity. We have the feed mill, the bin sites, we're drying corn, we're doing a lot of maintenance in the shops, and then we have part of the electricity is for that, and the other part is for the 3 hog sheds that we have on the farm, and as a result, it probably covers 200 foot by 100 foot. But that's size for this farm. We have about 12 different units on different hog sites, and each one's a little different.
Now, let me ask you, too, where weather is so unpredictable here in Iowa, and there's so many different iterations, hailstorm or snow or derecho. How do you maintain it with that, or have you ever had any issues?
Of course, when it snows, it covers them, and you can go out and clean them off, but usually in a few days, it will melt off or disappear. And as a result, we don't do anything for the snow. The rain will actually help keep them clean because they will build up a little dust. And that is the only maintenance that we have to pull, really, is once every 6 months or so, we wash them. And by washing them, you can maybe make them produce 10, 15% more. It depends on if you're near a gravel road.
A lot of people probably don't realize how much farmers like you work to be sustainable. Why is it important to you?
Well, as I've already showed you, we got family, and that's number one with us. We have family and young kids growing up, and that's the future. So we got to look at the future at all times. We want the land to be better than when we took it. So we're doing more conservation with tillage, with cover crops, anything that we can to leave things better.
So how do farmers get started in solar? There is a learning curve, one that's gently embraced with the help of experts like Jake West, whose full-time job is keeping up with the growing demand for solar energy. I'm here now with Jake West of Van Wall, and you specifically work with solar panels. Tell me about it. Tell me about your job. What's a day in the life for Jake West?
Yeah, Lori. So I'm with the Van Wall Energy Division. We're part of the Van Wall Group. And it's the same company that sells a lot of John Deere tractors, over 30 dealerships across Iowa. And Don Van Halling, the owner, started the energy division about 12 years ago to help our customers, the ag producers, reduce some of their electric costs with renewable energy. And for the past 7 years, we've been totally 100% solar power. And that's been a real blessing to both the farmers, our customers, commercial operations, and the smaller acreages, allowing them to lower their input costs with electricity.
Well, I just came back from a pretty modern pig farm in Washington County, and it was eye-opening to see. They have solar panels on the roof of one particular barn, but they also had a freestanding row. Really sophisticated looking. Boy, it's come a long way, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. Solar's gotten more efficient. We are seeing a lot of hog farms, operations contact us as a means to explore why or how can they lower their input costs with electricity. And a lot of times they're spending maybe some of their highest costs with their operation on electricity, and that solar farm that you visited in many ways can lower their costs from thousands of dollars down to maybe $5, $10, $20 a month.
Times being what they are, we're all looking to figure out how can we pinch some pennies, and not just in the here and now, but in the long run. So that's where solar comes in. And so I know the technology has changed a lot from, like our grandpa's day maybe, is what they might picture when they think of solar energy. Man, it's not that anymore. It's very sophisticated.
Solar used to heat water for heating. And so what we sell and what you're seeing around the state of Iowa is solar that is creating electricity for the site and the farm. And what most people don't realize is that production from the solar investment that they've made is powering their farm first. And then if there's any excess, that goes back out onto the grid. So the idea is that we meet with that customer, look at their usage history, and try to size their solar system so that they just match what they're typically using on a year-to-year basis. So there's not a lot of excess.
So when you talk about, feeding it back to the grid, does that actually mean that some pig farmers might be helping reduce the energy costs of the folks who live nearby in town?
Yeah, you can look at it that way. It goes back out onto the grid, and then it's sold back to the neighbor, let's say, at retail value. So it really depends on what utility you're with and how they handle that excess. When you drive by a hog operation, you'll see that business owners made an investment in solar that, like you said, in most cases would probably go on the ground at a hog site. And so you might see a large building that holds 2,400 sows or pigs, and they might typically use $8,600 per year for electricity. They might be paying 12 cents a kilowatt hour for that power. So a typical solar project would be about a 45 kW solar array. In layman's terms, that might be 120 feet long worth of solar panels that are too high, and it's separate from the building. So if there's ever any maintenance that needs to be done, it's separate from the facility. And so with that 45 kW ground-mounted solar array, that might cost around $112,500. And today there's a 30% federal tax credit available for solar projects, and that's good for both the commercial and the residential customer. And so in this case, in this example, that would be about $33,000 in a federal tax credit. That's a dollar-for-dollar tax credit that customer can use over the course of 10 years. So that's really nice. And in general, that's about a 4-year return on your investment.
Are you surprised at how well this is going over?
But what I'm seeing is the more people are out and about seeing projects pop up in their neighborhoods or their areas, then that really kind of intrigues them, and so they start asking questions. So we were recently at the Farm Progress Show up in Boone, and we had a booth, and it's really encouraging to see all the different types of farmers, large and small operations, stop by and ask questions.
Well, farmers are certainly innovators, and it may surprise people to learn that innovation translates also into the environment, into being green, into saving energy. Really that benefits everybody.
Yeah, it does. And this is an opportunity for them to not only take advantage of new technology, but also kind of fill that green energy side of things. So it's really a win-win for them and everybody. And it's sustainable. Some of the questions we get answered a lot or asked a lot are, how does hail affect solar?
Yeah.
And here in Iowa, we have a wide extreme of weather conditions, as you're aware.
Yes.
And so the solar panel itself is very durable. It can withstand up to golf ball size hail. So that still means you want to add your solar project to your liability insurance for the farm in case we have a derecho or tornadoes or larger hail. But it's very durable. And another question we're getting asked a lot is what happens to the solar panel, after the 30-year life of it? And so there's companies that are coming on board that recycle solar panels, and they can recycle the tempered glass on the panel, the aluminum frame is recycled, and even the silicon cells can be recycled. So it's a great feeling to know that your investment should last 25 to 30 years, maybe longer. But also there's a place for that stuff to go, not just the landfill in the future.
Well, man, Jake, I sure hope to heck I'm still around in 30 years to see what's next for solar, not to mention the panels that are being installed now, they're going to recycle. What do you think is next when it comes to solar energy? Things get, you think of cell phones well, there for a while anyway, smaller. Now they seem to be getting bigger. But what about solar?
Yeah, we're seeing, obviously, the solar panel technology is getting more efficient. So we're cramming more watts, if you will, into one panel. When I started 11 years ago, we were working with 100 to 200 watt solar panels. Today, we're working with 450 watt solar panels, and they've just increased in physical size dimensions by just a little bit. Now there's technology that's called bifacial technology, where not only the front of the panel absorbs the solar electrons, but the backside as well. If it's put on a roof, that panel can collect some of the reflection from the panels behind it. And so that's a way that they become more efficient. So as technology gets better, hopefully the prices keep coming down. efficiencies get better, so you use less panels.
Right.
I just see this as getting to be a better opportunity for farmers, a better investment as we go forward. And I think the biggest market that we'll see in the next 5 to 10 years is energy storage. And that has to do with batteries. And, as we sit here today, I'm thinking of Tesla, and a lot of the battery systems use a Tesla battery type system for storage. And as that market becomes more efficient and technology gets better, those will get cheaper, hopefully, in the future and last longer. So that'll add a whole new realm to energy production on site, which is called distributed generation. And that'll allow some of the farmers to store power on site, and then they can use off that power from their batteries at night.
Wow. So we'll be even cooler than Tesla. Yeah, I have a feeling, Jake, that the farmers are going to keep you busy for quite some time. According to the latest report by the U.S. Department of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, solar could power 40% of our nation's electricity by 2035. Clearly, to make that happen will take a lot of hard work and motivation. So who will inspire that change? It seems the sports world is always a good source for inspiration. And, generations of people have been inspired by legendary Hawkeye and NFL wide receiver Tim Dwight. You can still find his 94-yard Super Bowl run online. But now he's going long for solar. I got him to slow down long enough to chat about how it all started. Let me ask you, because people know you from the NFL and certainly from the Hawkeyes, and you're a star still to this day. I mean, an inspiration for so many people. Solar energy, now that is a horse of another color, right? So what made you think, okay, solar energy? How did that start? What made you think, as a former NFL guy, to get into solar?
Well, I appreciate your comments on that. But, I retired after the 2007 season. And I was living in San Diego. So I kind of came back to Iowa, and I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he told me that, hey, we're kind of looking at the solar company up in San Francisco. And I was like, oh, solar energy. I go, that kind of cool. And I saw an untapped market, and then I saw the farmer. And I remember me and Sage Rosenfels, he played at Iowa State. We're in my house in San Diego, and I had this little room, this office room between my garage and my main house. And we drew the map of Iowa State up on the map. Up on the wall. I covered this whole wall.
Hey, it's your vision board back in the day.
Yeah, my vision board. So I was like, hey, Sage, this is going to happen in Iowa. This is going to be big. It might take a while, but it's eventually going to get there where lots of farmers are going to have these solar arrays all over the state, powering themselves as well as out to the grid. So I was like, wow, this is going to be great for everybody in Iowa, and especially the farmer, because as we start to move into electrification of the grid and our infrastructure, the farmer's in the sweet spot, especially in Iowa, because we're right in the middle of the country. We've got transmission lines running through our state, and we've got a great way to get it out. Just like our corn, just like our soybeans, just like our hogs. We've been very successful in that, and we're going to be very successful with solar energy.
Well, it makes sense since we're so great at growing corn and soybeans because of the sun and our wide open spaces, that this is also a great market to get into. So look at you being, with your crystal ball all those years ago going, yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
I just, got really lucky to got introduced into solar, and I figured, every customer can be your customer because the sun shines anywhere.
And I can see how it's a great market. And the farmers that I've talked to and some of the other folks are kind of like, wow, you would not believe. Yes, initial investment, yes, but you would not believe the money I'm saving on energy costs because, it takes a lot of energy to keep those pigs cool or the babies warm in the winter. But how do you make it efficient? Because we want that cycle of sustainability. Right? So let's talk about that cost because like you said, it's evolved. So we're trying to ballpark it here for a lot of people. So what would be something doable?
You have to look at it as an investment. You don't really look at it as, it's this expensive sticker shock. It's like, what's my return on my investment? I mean, with this module scaling, it's really come down in cost. I mean, to kind of get an idea, the module when I came into business was $4 a watt. So if I had a 400 watt module, that's going to cost me $1,600. Well, now I can buy that module for under 50 cents a watt, which is $200. So it changes the economics quite a bit. So the industry is really starting to streamline itself and to become more affordable and a better investment.
When you think about how you're going to use it, because this is something you're going to need every day, going to use every day.
A lot of our facilities now on the hog side are very automated. I mean, they bring up the shades, they bring down the shades, they turn on the heat, they send the water, they got the food. So there's a lot of things that uses energy instead of manpower.
Well, tell me what you found too, as you've, learned about the innovation of today's pig barns, the innovation of today's farmers. Do you see them receptive to this? Tell me, how would you describe them nowadays?
Very receptive. I've been kind of surprised. If you look back on the growth of solar in Iowa the last 10 years, it's all been 90% ag. And a couple reasons for that is, one, our farmers they're always looking for ways to be more efficient and cost savings as well, because they work hard at what they do and they've seen the ups and downs of farming. And I've seen it too. I've paid attention to corn prices more so now than I ever have in the past. And so they're looking at these ways to make themselves more efficient and just more ways that they can be innovative. A lot of their customers like it that they use renewable energy. Still today, our market is almost 80% ag. It's grown a little bit more on the business side. And there are a couple of things. I mean, one, they've got the space for it. Two, they have high energy rates. They're paying anywhere between 12 to 16 cents a kilowatt hour, which that's kind of expensive. Homes usually pay maybe around 10 to 12 cents, depending on your market.
Well, it feels good to know that farmers are embracing innovation of solar. And it's not a surprise to me, and it's now not a surprise to you that they're into it.
I think that a lot of farmers take a lot of pride in being hardworking and innovative, and as well as taking care of the land. The farmer get involved in solar power, solar energy is definitely one of them. It's exciting to see that because, I've lived around the country. I used to play for the New York Jets. I lived in New York and Boston and Atlanta and San Diego. And, you get kind of these connotations. Oh, you're from Iowa, what do you guys know out there? And it's like, well, come to our farms and actually see how we feed you at a good cost and how we're trying to always keep your cost, viable and be able to make it affordable. When you sit down at the dinner table, you're eating our food, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, and we want to keep it affordable, and that's one way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let me ask you that. That's my crystal ball question because you're good at seeing the future, right? Let me ask you, what do you think's another 10 years? What do you think's possible?
I definitely think the module's going to change. I just kind of follow other products that have, matured, like our cell phone. I mean, back then it was just a big box with a handle on it, and then it came with like an antenna, and it started to shrink. And now it's a computer. So I think our module is going to innovate where, we have three pieces right now. You've got the module, which is the generator. You got the inverter, which changes the DC current into AC current, which is how we power our daily lives. And then we have our battery, which is a third component. I think you're going to see all that kind of come into one unit, which then creates a lot of efficiencies in the installation side, because now you don't have these three things you got to put together. You're going to order a module, and it's all going to come in one. You're going to stick it up on a rooftop.
Well, it's been interesting, though. I find that fascinating that Tim Dwight 2.0 was built on this epiphany, and you came back, and we're just glad that you came back to Iowa, and our farmers are glad, too, not to mention the people who want to know about agriculture and farming and all of that, because Tim Dwight is bringing the real deal back. Harnessing
I'm in farming.
The power of the sun. I love it. What's next for solar? Or what is the next innovation that will prove worthy? Well, as the famous hockey player Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, Iowa pig farmers will continue to innovate and try because they know that's what you and I expect. I'm Lori Johns. Raising healthy pigs starts even before piglets are born. Compassionate care every step of the way on the next ChopTalk.